Hello, so I thought it was about time I did my thoughts on Star Wars Battlefront. So I know everybody and his dog has done a YouTube video on Star Wars Battlefront Beta, and I'm going to be a couple of weeks late to the game, but hey, I played it for about 8 or 10 hours, I've got some thoughts on it, so here they come. First thing I've got to say is that the game wasn't very stable for me. I had a lot of server disconnects. And if you watch this gameplay, you'll see there's various laggy points where I will jump back about a couple of seconds. So it wasn't the most stable experience. I checked my router and that was running fine. I dropped out of Battlefront, played Battlefield, and that was running fine. So it wasn't anything on my end, it was just probably the beta server testing. Hopefully it won't be there when the game goes live, but if you see the action stuttering in the game, that's what's causing it. It's my connection to the server being really dodgy for no apparent reason. But when it comes to the game itself, I have to say, Star Wars Battlefront was quite a lot of fun. Now, it's not the kind of shooter experience you expect from DICE. It's much better played in third person than it is in first person, and the gunplay isn't really as crisp as you expect. But for all of that, it is a good, fun shooter experience. It's certainly on the very casual end of the shooter experiences, but there's nothing really wrong with that. I think they've aimed the game quite squarely at a mixed market. It's going to attract some of the shooter players and it's going to attract all of the Star Wars fans. The idea is that the game is casual enough and easy enough to pick up that it's not going to be off-putting to people who don't play a lot of shooters. Now, the main thing that's going to attract these new players is the Star Wars experience, and Battlefront gets that pretty much spot on. All the models are really good, all the sounds are really good, the textures and the maps look really good for a Star Wars experience. There are a few glaring problems though. The Battlefield pickups aren't designed to blend into the Star Wars experience. They're glowing icons that you see on the floor. Why they didn't design them to blend into the theme rather than looking at something out of a Mario game, I don't know. But as you can see here, there's this blue lightning bolty sign on the floor and it just doesn't fit with the feel of the map. And the fact that everything else really fits in with the Star Wars theme makes these little touches stand out a mile. Another example is when the hero characters are taken down and they just kneel there. Well, there should be some better way of getting them out of the action. You've vanquished a hero, maybe you should vanish up into the sky or something. They shouldn't just kneel on the floor for 10 seconds and then vanish. But these little things only stand out because the rest of the game has got such a good Star Wars theme to it and is done so well. Okay, the blasters feel a bit weak in comparison to most shooter guns, but that's because they're modelled exactly on how they work in the films. And in the films the blaster laser shots were slowed down so you could see them on screen. Even in the short corridor fights you can still see the blasters being fired down the corridor. That means in the game they've got a slower velocity than a gun in Battlefield 4. So there's a lot of lead time. There doesn't really seem to be any accuracy built into the guns. Aiming compared to hipfire doesn't seem to be a big advantage. And third person definitely seems to be an advantage over first person, just because of the field of view. So this isn't ever going to be a competitive serious shooter, but it is a very good casual shooter that's easy for anybody to pick up. So if we take from the beta that Star Wars Battlefront is aimed at the casual market, then there is one glaring omission, and that's the squad system. The fact that it really doesn't have one. You can enter this game grouped with your friends, but in game you're only partnered with one. A bit like the system in Medal of Honor Warfighter, and that didn't really work in Warfighter, and it really doesn't work in Star Wars Battlefront. It means that you can only spawn on one person and you can only see one person marked individually on the map, and that really limits the experience of playing with your friends because you can't see them marked out on the map, so you don't know where they are, you can't spawn on them, and it really limits the team play experience as well as the friends experience. Another thing that limits this experience is the lack of voice over IP. So unless you're running something like a TeamSpeak server, you can't talk to your friends either. So if a group of friends want to get together and play a shooter, Star Wars Battlefront really isn't a good choice. Because you can't talk to them, you can't spawn on them, you can't see them on the map. You're really just a bunch of people playing on the same server rather than a bunch of friends playing together. If you were charitable, you could say that this means that somebody playing as an individual isn't at a disadvantage when it comes to playing against groups. Although if the group's running TeamSpeak, you're still at a slight disadvantage. But overall, when it comes to playing with friends, the experience in Star Wars Battlefront is pretty poor. This game does have a bunch of minor problems, but they're all easily fixable. There's a grenade spam issue because you've got an infinite number of grenades just controlled by time to respawn. Same with sniper rifles. Anybody can have a sniper rifle that's only limited by the time for it to recharge. Those issues can simply be fixed by altering the timing. There are spawn issues where you spawn on top of enemy players, or enemy players can just be sat in your spawn waiting for you. Again, those are easy to fix, you just adjust the spawn distances. A lot of people are complaining that Walker Assault is imbalanced, but it's supposed to be imbalanced. It's taking its theme from the film. The walkers go through and destroy the power station. I think the scoring system needs working on. I think kills should score a lot less, and that working for objectives for the rebels should score a lot more. But on the whole, that mode works the way it's supposed to. But that's what a beta is for. It's designed to show up these kind of problems, and most of them are easily fixable. Now strangely, DICE described this as a technical beta, not a gameplay beta. But with the game only a month away, we've got to assume that the gameplay we're seeing here is pretty much what we're going to get when it releases. And if that's the case, I have to say with a few minor tweaks, this game is going to be very popular. It's fun, it's casual enough that anybody can pick it up, and it's entertaining enough to keep you interested. But I do think it needs some kind of squad system including in the game. But that's my thoughts on the beta. Thanks for watching.